unlimited drama series.
I should have known something was wrong when Vanessa started wearing matching underwear to work meetings. My wife of 12 years had never been the type to coordinate her bra and panties for quarterly reports. But there she was, standing in our marble-tiled bathroom at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning, adjusting black lace that cost more than my first car. Another late night at the office? I asked, watching her apply lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. Red. Blood red. She never wore red for me anymore. Board presentation, she said without looking at me. Marcus is flying in from Seattle. We need to nail this merger proposal. Marcus Blackwood, the CEO of Pinnacle Tech, where my wife had clawed her way up to Senior Vice President of Strategic Development. 50-something, silver-haired, the kind of man who wore $1,000 suits and treated people like chess pieces. I'd met him exactly once, at last year's Christmas party, where he'd looked right through me like I was furniture. Right, the merger. I sipped my coffee, watching her in the mirror. Funny how these presentations always happen after business hours. Vanessa's hand paused for just a fraction of a second before she capped the lipstick. Some of us have ambitions beyond managing other people's money, David. There it was, the dig. The reminder that while she was conquering the corporate world, I was just a financial advisor who worked from home, managing portfolios for middle-class families who wanted to retire someday. Never mind that I'd built my practice from nothing, or that we lived in this 4,000-square-foot house in Millbrook Heights because of my investments. In Vanessa's world, I was small-time. A car horn honked outside. Vanessa grabbed her purse, a new one I noticed, Italian leather, and headed for the door. "Don't wait up," she called over her shoulder. "These things can run pretty late." I watched through the window as she climbed into a black Mercedes that definitely wasn't from the company motor pool. The driver was young, probably mid-20s, with the kind of jawline that belonged in a cologne commercial. He held the door for her, and I caught the way his hand lingered on her lower back as she slid into the passenger seat. Nah, that's when I knew. Not suspected, not wondered, knew. My wife was cheating on me. If this were a Stephen King novel, this would be the moment when the protagonist discovers he has some supernatural power to get revenge. Maybe he'd be able to read minds, or control electronics, or summon demons from hell. But this was real life, and I was just David Chen. Correction, David Parker, a 43-year-old financial advisor whose biggest talent was spotting undervalued stocks and making small talk with retirees. But I had one advantage Vanessa didn't know about. I was really, really good at research. I spent the morning going through our joint accounts, credit card statements, phone records. Vanessa had been sloppy, probably because she thought I was too boring to pay attention. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. A hotel room downtown, the Meridian, their presidential suite, booked for 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon 2 weeks ago. Phone calls to numbers I didn't recognize, all lasting exactly long enough for someone to say, "The meeting's confirmed," or "See you at 8. But the real smoking gun was her laptop. Bo is still logged into her email. Her password was Princess 2011, the year she got promoted to VP. I'd watched her type it 100 times, never thinking I'd need to remember it. Her inbox was a masterclass in corporate adultery. Emails from Marcus with subject lines like tonight's agenda and special project requirements. But it wasn't just Marcus. There were messages from other executives, other women in the company, all using the same coded language about client entertainment and team-building exercises. The most recent email made my stomach drop. From M. Blackwood at pinnacletech.com to V. Parker at pinnacletech.com. Subject, tonight's presentation. Vanessa, looking forward to your performance tonight. The investors from Tokyo are very particular about their entertainment. Make sure Jennifer and Amanda understand their roles. The penthouse is booked from 8 p.m. to midnight. Your dedication to the company doesn't go unnoticed. P.S. Wear the black dress. You know the one. I read it 3 times before the full implications hit me. This wasn't just an affair. This was an entire network of executives using sex as a business tool, and my wife was apparently one of the ringleaders. The worst part? I recognized some of the names in the email chains. Jennifer Morrison, Amanda Walsh, even Sarah Kim from accounting. These were women I'd made small talk with at company parties. Women whose husbands I'd met, whose kids played soccer with the neighbor's kids. I printed everything, every email, every receipt, every suspicious charge. By the time I was done, I had a stack of papers 3 inches thick and a rage burning in my chest that felt like swallowing molten metal. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Presentation going great. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. Right. I grabbed my car keys and headed for the door. If my wife wanted to play games, I was going to learn the rules. The Meridian Hotel sat downtown like a glass and steel monument to excess. 37 floors of marble lobbies and crystal chandeliers. I parked across the street in a McDonald's parking lot and settled in to wait. My Honda Accord looked pathetic next to the Porsches and BMWs flowing through the hotel's valet station. But that was the point. Nobody notices the boring guy in the boring car. My phone showed 7:45 p.m. According to the emails, the presentation was supposed to start at 8. At 7:52, the black Mercedes pulled up. Vanessa stepped out wearing the black dress Marcus had mentioned, a number I'd never seen before that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. The young driver handed her a small gift bag, and she kissed his cheek before walking into the hotel. 3 minutes later, a silver Bentley arrived. Marcus Blackwood emerged wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than my car. He was followed by 2 men in expensive suits who had the look of foreign businessmen, the Tokyo investors, presumably. I waited another 10 minutes before following them inside. The Meridian's lobby was all polished marble and indirect lighting, designed to make everyone feel like they were in a movie about rich people. I'd been here exactly once before, for a client's retirement party, and felt just as out of place now as I had then. The elevator bank had a security guard, but he was busy flirting with one of the front desk clerks. I walked past him like I belonged there, and pressed the button for the 37th floor, the penthouse level. The elevator rose smoothly, my reflection staring back at me from the polished walls. What was I doing? Following my cheating wife to some kind of corporate orgy? This was insane. The doors opened. The 37th floor had only 2 doors, both marked private. I could hear voices from behind the door on the right, along with what sounded like jazz music and clinking glasses. A business meeting, just like Vanessa had said. I pressed my ear to the door. Absolutely perfect for the Yamamoto account, Marcus was saying. They appreciate this kind of personal attention to detail. I'm glad you're pleased, Vanessa replied. Her voice sounded different, breathier. Jennifer and Amanda are very talented. Indeed. And what about your husband? Does he suspect anything? My blood turned to ice. David? Vanessa laughed, and the sound cut through me like broken glass. David thinks I'm at a board meeting. He's probably at home watching Netflix and eating cereal for dinner. He has no idea what real ambition looks like. More laughter. Male voices agreeing. Someone mentioned something about keeping the wives happy with shopping money, while the real business gets done. I fumbled for my phone and started recording. The beauty of this arrangement, Marcus continued, is that everyone wins. The clients get their entertainment, the ladies advance their careers, and I get the most dedicated executive team in the industry. It's simply good business. What about the merger with Technologic Solutions? This was a woman's voice I didn't recognize. Jennifer or Amanda, probably. That's where Vanessa's husband becomes useful, Marcus said. David Parker manages several portfolios that are heavily invested in our competitors. When the merger announcement hits, those stocks will tank. If someone were to short sell those positions beforehand, insider trading, Vanessa said, that's illegal. Only if someone finds out. And who's going to investigate a small-time financial advisor making a few lucky guesses? They were planning to use me. Not just cheat on me, but frame me for securities fraud, while they profited from information I wasn't supposed to have. The recording on my phone was already 15 minutes long. I was so focused on listening that I almost missed the elevator doors opening behind me. Excuse me, sir. I spun around to find the security guard from downstairs, along with a hotel manager in a crisp suit. I'm sorry, but this floor is reserved for private events. Are you a guest of Mr. Blackwood? My mind raced. Actually, I'm David Parker, Vanessa Parker's husband? She asked me to bring her something she forgot. The manager's expression shifted slightly. Of course, let me just verify with the party. He reached for the door handle, and I knew I had about 30 seconds before my cover was blown, and probably my marriage was over. Not that there was much left to save. You know what? That's okay, I said, backing toward the elevator. I'll just text her. I don't want to interrupt anything important. The elevator doors couldn't close fast enough. I made it to my car before my hands started shaking. The recording was still running on my phone. 23 minutes of my wife and her boss discussing their sex for promotion scheme and their plans to destroy me in the process. I sat in the McDonald's parking lot until after midnight, watching the hotel entrance. The Tokyo investors left first, looking satisfied. Then Jennifer and Amanda, both carrying gift bags similar to the one Vanessa had received. Finally, Marcus and Vanessa emerged together. He said something that made her laugh, then kissed her, not on the cheek like the driver had, but full on the mouth, his hands tangled in her hair. She didn't get home until 2 a.m. I pretended to be asleep when she slipped into bed, still smelling like expensive cologne and champagne. How was the presentation? I mumbled. Exhausting, she whispered, but successful. I think we're going to get the Yamamoto account. Huh, that's great, honey. I'm proud of you. The lie came so easily, I almost believed it myself. I called in sick the next morning and drove to the other side of town, to a strip mall that housed a bail bondsman, a check-cashing place, and a private investigator's office, with a sign that read, Tommy Sullivan, Discreet Inquiries. Tommy had been a cop for 20 years before a bullet in the knee forced him into early retirement. We'd met at my gym, where he spent most of his time complaining about his ex-wife and his pension. He was exactly the kind of man who understood that sometimes the system failed good people. Jesus, Dave, he said after listening to the recording. Your wife's not just cheating on you. She's running a prostitution ring disguised as corporate networking. Can we prove it? Tommy leaned back in his chair, which creaked ominously. His office was about as far from Pinnacle Tech's glass towers as you could get. Wood paneling, outdated computers, a coffee pot that looked like it had survived the Clinton administration. Prove it? Hell yes. But what do you want to do with the proof? Divorce court? Criminal charges? Public humiliation? All of the above, he grinned. Now you're talking my language. But this is going to take time and money. These people are smart, connected, and rich. They'll have lawyers crawling out of the woodwork the minute we make a move. How much time? How much money? Give me 2 weeks and $5,000. I'll get you enough evidence to bury all of them. I wrote the check on the spot. Tommy's plan was methodical and thorough. We started with surveillance, not just of Vanessa, but of the entire network. He had contacts at hotels, restaurants, and parking garages throughout the city. Within 3 days, we had photographs of Marcus meeting with at least 6 different women from Pinnacle Tech, all at locations that definitely weren't boardrooms. But the real breakthrough came when Tommy ran background checks on the Tokyo investors. These guys aren't investors, he told me over coffee at a diner near his office. They're executives from Yamamoto Industries, but they're not here to invest in anything. They're here to be entertained. This whole merger is just a cover story for what's essentially an international prostitution operation. Can we prove that? Better. I can prove they've done this before. Remember that conference in Las Vegas last year? The one Vanessa went to for a week? I remembered. She'd come back with a promotion and a $20,000 bonus. Tommy slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were hotel receipts, credit card statements, and photographs that made my stomach turn. Vanessa wasn't just participating in this scheme. She was one of its architects. There's more, Tommy said. I traced some of the financial transactions. Marcus has been funneling money through offshore accounts, paying for these business trips and client entertainment expenses. It's money laundering, tax evasion, and probably a dozen other federal crimes. What about the insider trading angle? That's where it gets interesting. I checked with a buddy at the SEC. There's been some suspicious trading activity around Pinnacle Tech's announcements over the past 2 years. Someone's been making very well-timed bets against their competitors, always just before major merger announcements. Someone like my wife? Someone like your wife's boss, using information your wife provided about your client portfolios. The pieces were falling into place. Marcus had been using Vanessa to get information about my client's investments, then timing Pinnacle Tech's announcements to manipulate the market. My clients had been losing money while Marcus and his inner circle got rich. So what's our move? I asked. Tommy smiled. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I felt like maybe I wasn't completely powerless. We're going to give them exactly what they want, he said. And then we're going to destroy them with it. That. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Tommy had a contact at the local newspaper, a business reporter named Lisa Chen, who specialized in corporate corruption stories. She'd been investigating Pinnacle Tech for months, following rumors about their unconventional business practices, but hadn't been able to get concrete evidence. Until now. This is bigger than just your wife cheating, Lisa explained during our meeting at a coffee shop downtown. This is a systematic abuse of power, securities fraud, and possibly human trafficking. If we can
You wrote him love poems. In 10 years, you never wrote me a word.
It was emotional.
How is he telling it another?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
document everything properly, this story could bring down the entire company. But we needed more than photographs and recordings. We needed to catch them in the act, with undeniable proof of what they were doing. That's where my insider knowledge became useful. According to the emails I'd been monitoring, Marcus was planning another client entertainment event for the following Friday. This time, the clients were executives from a German manufacturing company that Pinnacle Tech was trying to acquire. The event was being held at Marcus's private estate in the hills outside the city. It's perfect, Tommy said. Private property, multiple participants, and enough evidence to hang them all. The estate was a sprawling modern monstrosity that looked like it had been designed by someone who'd seen too many movies about rich villains. Glass walls, infinity pools, and security cameras everywhere. Getting inside would be impossible, but getting close enough to document what was happening, that was doable. Tommy had acquired some serious surveillance equipment. Telephoto lenses, directional microphones, night vision cameras. We set up in the woods about 200 yards from the main house, with a clear view of the pool area where most of the entertainment was likely to take place. The guests started arriving at 8 p.m. I watched through binoculars as Vanessa stepped out of a limousine, wearing a dress that left nothing to the imagination. She was followed by Jennifer, Amanda, and 3 other women I recognized from company events. They were all dressed like they were heading to a high-end strip club, not a business meeting. The German executives arrived 30 minutes later. Middle-aged men in expensive suits, who looked like they knew exactly what kind of business meeting they were attending. What happened next was exactly what we'd expected, but seeing it through a camera lens made it feel surreal. My wife, the woman I'd married 12 years ago, the woman who'd once cried during our wedding vows, was now essentially working as a high-priced escort for corporate clients. Tommy's cameras captured everything. The initial introductions by the pool, the movement inside to what looked like an entertainment room, the obvious transactions, envelopes of cash changing hands, contracts being signed while the women provided incentives for the German executives to agree to favorable terms. But the real smoking gun came around 11 p.m., when Marcus stepped onto the balcony to take a phone call. "The Parker situation is handled," he said, his voice clear through Tommy's directional microphone. His wife's been feeding us information about his client portfolios for months. When we announce the Steinberg acquisition on Monday, his clients are going to lose their shirts. And if anyone investigates, it'll look like David was the one with insider information. What about Vanessa? The voice on the other end was tinny but audible. She's useful for now, but once this German deal is closed, we might need to cut some loose ends. The wife, maybe some of the other girls, they know too much. My blood ran cold. Not only were they planning to frame me, but Marcus was planning to eliminate Vanessa once she'd outlived her usefulness. Tommy grabbed my arm. "We've got enough," he whispered. "Let's get out of here before security spots us." We packed up the equipment and headed back to town, but my mind was racing. Marcus wasn't just running a prostitution ring. He was planning to destroy lives, and possibly worse, to cover his tracks. By the time we got back to Tommy's office, I'd made a decision. "We're not going to the police," I told him. "What?" "Dave, we've got them dead to rights. This evidence could put Marcus away for 20 years, and it could also get Vanessa killed. You heard what he said about cutting loose ends." Tommy stared at me. "You still care about her, after everything she's done?" I thought about that. Did I still love Vanessa? Probably not. But did I want her to end up dead because of Marcus's paranoia? Definitely not. "I want them destroyed," I said. "But I want to be the one who does it, and I want them to know it was me." Tommy's expression shifted from confusion to something that looked almost like admiration. Okay, he said. But if we're going to do this your way, we need to be smart about it. These people have money, power, and connections. If we come at them wrong, we'll end up buried so deep nobody will ever find us. Then we better not come at them wrong. The beauty of revenge, I discovered, is that it works best when your targets destroy themselves. All you have to do is provide the right circumstances and let human nature take its course. I started with Marcus's wife. Catherine Blackwood was everything Vanessa aspired to be. Old money, social connections, and the kind of refined cruelty that came from never having to worry about consequences. She hosted charity galas, sat on museum boards, and had probably never worked a day in her life. She also had no idea that her husband was running a corporate brothel. Tommy had done his homework on Catherine. She was prideful, vindictive, and had access to more lawyers than most small countries. More importantly, she controlled the family trust that owned 40% of Pinnacle Tech's stock. I arranged to accidentally bump into her at the country club where she played tennis every Tuesday morning. Mrs. Blackwood? I'm David Parker, Vanessa Parker's husband. I think our spouses work together. Catherine was polite but distant, the way rich people are when they're talking to someone they consider beneath their notice. But she perked up when I mentioned that I was a financial advisor. Actually, I said, lowering my voice conspiratorially, I was hoping to get your advice about something. It's about Marcus and some of his business practices. I'm concerned that Vanessa might be getting involved in something inappropriate. That got her attention. I didn't tell Catherine everything. I didn't need to. I just planted enough seeds of doubt to make her start asking questions. A comment about late-night meetings. A mention of expensive gifts that Vanessa couldn't possibly afford on her salary. A suggestion that maybe Catherine should ask Marcus about the Yamamoto account. Within 24 hours, Catherine had hired her own private investigator. While she was digging into her husband's activities, I was setting up the second phase of the plan. The German manufacturing deal was scheduled to be announced the following Monday. According to the insider information Marcus thought I didn't have, the announcement would cause Steinberg Industries' stock to plummet, costing my clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what if the announcement never happened? Tommy had a contact at the Securities and Exchange Commission, an investigator named Rodriguez, who specialized in market manipulation cases. Rodriguez had been building a case against several high-frequency trading firms, but he needed a smoking gun to prove that someone was using insider information to manipulate stock prices. I gave him everything we had on Marcus's trading activities, along with the recordings of him discussing the insider information scheme. But I didn't mention the prostitution angle. That was going to be Catherine's discovery. This is solid evidence, Rodriguez told me during our meeting at a downtown restaurant. But I need you to understand that if we move on this, you're going to be investigated too. Your wife's been feeding this guy information about your client portfolios. Even if you didn't know about it, it's going to look suspicious. What if I could prove that I was trying to stop it? How? I slid a flash drive across the table. What if I told you that I've been documenting everything for months, building a case to expose the whole operation? Rodriguez plugged the drive into his laptop and started scrolling through the files. I'd spent the previous week creating a detailed timeline of Marcus's activities, cross-referenced with trading data, hotel receipts, and communication records. It looked like the work of someone who'd been investigating corporate fraud, not someone who'd just discovered his wife was cheating. This is comprehensive, Rodriguez said. When did you start putting this together? 6 months ago. I noticed some irregularities in the market timing, around Pinnacle Tech's announcements. It took me a while to figure out the connection to my wife's company. It was a lie, but it was a convincing lie. And it positioned me as a whistleblower, rather than a co-conspirator. If we move on this, we'll need you to testify, Rodriguez said. I'll do whatever it takes. By Friday afternoon, all the pieces were in motion. Catherine Blackwood had confronted her husband about his business practices and was threatening divorce. The SEC was preparing to freeze Pinnacle Tech's assets and arrest Marcus for securities fraud. And I was getting ready for the final act of this little drama. The German executives were flying back to Munich on Saturday morning. According to the intercepted communications, Marcus was planning one final entertainment session Friday night to ensure the deal went through. But this time, he was going to have some uninvited guests. I called Vanessa on Friday afternoon. Hey, honey, how's work going? Busy, she said, her voice distracted. We're closing the German deal tonight. Another late meeting. That's great. I'm proud of how hard you've been working. Thanks, I should be home by midnight. Actually, I was thinking of surprising you. Maybe bringing some champagne to celebrate? There was a pause. That's sweet, David. But tonight's not a good night for surprises. Maybe we can celebrate this weekend? Sure, I love you, Vanessa. Love you too. Another lie, but this one was mine. The raid happened at exactly 11:47 p.m. I wasn't there to see it personally, but Tommy had positioned cameras around Marcus's estate, and we watched the whole thing unfold from his office downtown. Federal agents, local police, news crews, the full circus descended on the property just as the business meeting was reaching its climax. Marcus's security tried to stop them at the gate, but SEC raids don't require permission. The agents had warrants for financial records, computer equipment, and any evidence of securities fraud. What they found was so much more than they'd bargained for. The German executives were arrested for solicitation. The Pinnacle Tech women, including Vanessa, were taken into custody as material witnesses. Marcus himself was led away in handcuffs while news cameras rolled, his perfect silver hair disheveled and his $1,000 tuxedo wrinkled. But the real fireworks started when Catherine Blackwood arrived. I'd tipped her off about the raid, anonymously, of course. She showed up just as the news crews were setting up, driving her white Bentley like she was heading into battle. She walked right past the police tape, past the federal agents, and directly up to the news cameras. My husband, Marcus Blackwood, is a criminal and a predator, she announced to the world. He's been using his position at Pinnacle Tech to coerce female employees into prostitution, and I have evidence that this has been going on for years. She'd brought copies of everything: financial records, photographs, recorded phone calls. Catherine had spent the past week systematically documenting her husband's crimes, and now she was serving them up to the media on a silver platter. The story went national within hours. Tech CEO arrested in prostitution ring. Corporate sex scandal rocks Silicon Valley. Executive wives demand justice. Pinnacle Tech's stock price collapsed before the markets opened on Monday morning. The German deal was dead. The Yamamoto account was canceled. 3 other major clients terminated their contracts within 24 hours. And Marcus Blackwood went from corporate titan to federal defendant faster than his company's stock price fell. But I wasn't done yet. Vanessa made bail on Sunday afternoon, using money from our joint savings account. She came home looking like she'd aged 10 years in 2 days, her perfect corporate image replaced by the hollow-eyed appearance of someone whose world had just exploded. "David," she said when she walked through the front door, "we need to talk." I was sitting in the living room, reading the newspaper coverage of her arrest. The photos were particularly unflattering. Vanessa in handcuffs, being led away from Marcus's estate while wearing a dress that left no doubt about what kind of business meeting she'd been attending. "I imagine we do," I said without looking up from the paper. She sat down across from me, and for a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married 12 years ago. Vulnerable, scared, human. "I can explain everything," she said. "Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty straightforward. You've been prostituting yourself for corporate advancement while helping your boss commit securities fraud, using information about my clients' portfolios." Vanessa's face went white. "How did you know about it?" "I've known for weeks, Vanessa. I've been documenting everything. The hotels, the clients, the insider trading scheme. I'm the one who gave the evidence to the SEC. She stared at me like I'd just told her I was an alien. "You? But you're just what? Just boring old David who manages middle-class portfolios and eats cereal for dinner? Just the husband you've been lying to and stealing from for months." Tears started running down her cheeks, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no anger, no satisfaction, just a cold, empty certainty that this marriage was over. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered. "It started as just networking. Marcus said it was how business really got done, that if I wanted to advance, I had to be willing to do what other people wouldn't do. And the insider trading? He said it wasn't really illegal if nobody got hurt, that we were just using publicly available information more effectively than other people. Except people did get hurt. My clients lost money because of the information you gave him. Families who trusted me to help them retire, to pay for their kids' college, to build something for the future." Vanessa was crying harder now, but I still felt nothing. "What happens now?" she asked. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our perfect suburban neighborhood. In a few hours, the news crews would probably be here, wanting to interview the husband of the woman at the center of the biggest corporate scandal of the year. Now you pack your things and leave, I said. The divorce papers will be filed on Monday. I'm keeping the house, the cars, and everything else. You can keep whatever money Marcus paid you, assuming the government doesn't seize it as evidence. David, please. I made mistakes, but we can work through this. I turned around and looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd built a life with, the woman who'd thrown it all away for a promotion, and the approval of a man who'd been planning to kill her to cover his tracks. No, I said. We can't. She left that night, taking only what she could fit in 2 suitcases. I watched from the window as she loaded them into the back of an Uber, probably heading to a hotel room paid for with money she'd earned on her back. The next morning, I called my clients, all of them. I explained what had happened, how their information had been compromised, and what I was doing to make sure it never happened again. Most of them were understanding. A few were angry, but all of them appreciated the honesty. By